Texans with an off day, but they release a depth chart, the initial one for the game against the Baltimore Ravens. Nick Caserio speaks exclusively and explains the moves he's been making, plus the internet goes nuts. Lots to talk about in the locker room.
Yeah, it's the locker room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source. We the pulse of the city too. Landlocked. Got the game in the headlock. Localize every time. Can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top two and we not too. Plugged in daily digital on YouTube.
Welcome to the locker room, number one source for Texans daily digital content. I'm Landry Locker. You can hear me Monday through Friday, 10 to 2 Central on SportsRadio 610 and the Odyssey app, which is where Nick Caserio spoke and explained himself earlier today. We got a lot to get into. We're a few days away from finally some games. Finally, we get in the routine of games. The talk continues, but the speculation kind of dies down a little bit, and we get some tangible examples of what the Texans will look like. And we also got a little bit of a sneak peek of what they could look like when they first line up in Baltimore. Please subscribe, like, ride along for the best Texans content that you can get digitally. Download the Odyssey app if you want to check me and my partners, John Lopez and Figgy Fig, out on the radio. Let's get into the Texans depth chart and get your comments in. If they're topical, we'll get to them. If they're in the flow, if not, if there's something going on, we will be sure to get to those as well. Appreciate everyone for rolling through. Let's look at this depth chart. Here is what the Texans initial game week depth chart looks like. So we have CJ Stroud at quarterback, no surprise there. Dameon Pierce at running back, no surprise there. Andrew Beck at fullback, no surprise there. The wide receivers, no surprises there. Although John Mechie looks like he's probably going to be inactive. He is not practicing. They return to the practice field tomorrow, and we should get more clarity on that. Tight end depth chart looks about like you would expect. Left tackle, Laramie Tunsil. Left guard, Josh Jones. And center, Jared Patterson. That's where all eyes are on right now. You have Jared Patterson listed as the center and Josh Jones listed as the left guard. Titus Howard listed at right tackle. His status still up in the air as well. I think Titus Howard is going to try to give it a go. But you have the rookie center in Jared Patterson and Josh Jones from U of H, traded for with the Arizona Cardinals right now at left guard. So keep an eye on that. I could easily see Dieter getting activated from the practice squad and starting at guard. So keep an eye on that. But all chalk outside of the left guard and center, and we should get a closer idea of what's going on there. Normally, when someone gets activated from the practice squad, it's kind of something we find out the day of. But keep an eye on Dieter and whether or not he ends up being the starting guard, or if they do decide to go with Josh Jones. On defense, pretty much chalk outside of really one thing that catches the eye. You have Will Anderson, Malik Collins, Rankins, Grenard on the defense, backed up by Hughes, Heinisch, Ridgeway, and Dylan Horton. Your will linebacker is Christian Harris. He's backed up by Littleton. And then your Mikes, Denzel Perriman, Henry To'oTo'o, Neville Hewitt. Now, at Sam, Blake Cashman, who we really haven't seen practice, he's backing up Jake Hansen. Jake Hansen is one of those solid linebackers. He's a guy who not very athletic, but he's going to be in the right place. It will be interesting to see, are they going to use him as a two-down guy? Is Cashman going to play? I think the uncertainty with Cashman we got to see tomorrow at practice. And by the way, CJ Stroud's going to speak at 1. You can hear that on In the Loop on Sports Radio 610. Download the Odyssey app right along there. CJ Stroud's going to speak at 1:15 shortly after D'Amico Ryans speaks at 1. Don't anticipate D'Amico giving out too much injury information, but sometimes that stuff kind of writes itself because you can tell who is and isn't practicing. Nickelback Tavier Thomas, he's backed up by Graylin Arnold. Maybe that explains why they decided to get rid of Desmond King. We'll hear Nick Caserio very shortly on this show on the decision to get rid of Desmond King. You thought maybe that the juggling would be between Tavier Thomas and Graylin Arnold, or Tavier Thomas and Desmond King, but Graylin Arnold there. So maybe that explains that. I thought the story by Brooks Cabino was interesting when he said that Tavier Thomas and Des King were actually eating together whenever the announcement was at least relayed to Des King. Kevin R. says Brooks Cabina had some good points when he was on with The Drive, which you can hear 2 to 6 Monday through Friday on In the Loop on Sports Radio 610. And that's no surprise. Brooks Cabina is the best, one of the best beat writers in the game. When it comes to features, when it comes to stories, when it comes to knowledge, he's one of the best. So if you have an extra 99 cents a month, which it's just a steal, with the Houston Chronicle, Brooks alone is worth following for 99 cents. He's a journalism, really just the ultimate professional from the University of Texas. And he is he's always making solid points. I'll get to the comments in a sec. I can see Jerome's already asking about Mbop Hansen. He's just a solid linebacker. I don't know. I mean, he's like I know that Cashman, Hansen's better than Kirko right now. He's a better version of Kirko. He's going to do dirty work. He's not going to excite you. Even if he's out there, I think we'll see more Cashman. I just don't know if they're comfortable saying that Cashman's going to be out there yet. But yes, Mbop Hansen is kind of one of those stiff linebackers that's not going to excite you. The cornerback, obviously, you got Stingley and Nelson. And then at safety, Jimmy Ward, Jalen Petrie, the two captains, backed up by MJ Stewart, Eric Murray. Graylin Arnold also backing up at safety. So you can kind of see Graylin Arnold taking on the role that I don't think they want Jimmy Ward being a nickel. I think Jimmy Ward, he told me that he wanted the S by his name on the roster. We actually showed him the roster when he joined us straight off the practice field, and he was like, oh, yes, I got the S. And that's kind of been a joke between him and D'Amico. Then you have the kicker and the punter. Obviously, no Cam Johnston. So that's what we got there when it comes to the depth chart. So we'll see how this goes with Hansen. Got people already saying Graylin Arnold is legit. I guess whatever you say, did some good things in the preseason. Obviously, they like him. I thought someone brought up a good point today. I think it was Ron Hughley that said, if Desmond King's going to get cut, that's a D'Amico thing. So I know that, Caserio, naturally, you think about the general manager whenever someone gets cut. But if D'Amico Ryans wanted Des King would be here. So I would think that they like enough of what they've seen from Graylin Arnold in practice to where they felt comfortable enough ridding themselves of Des King. And I think Tavier Thomas at this point is probably your best nickel guy anyways. Now, if your outside guys get beat up like they did last year, then you're going to wish you had Des King. But with adding Shaq Griffin, I think they feel they have more depth, and they feel that they may be able to, add some guys that can do other things instead of just play corner. Like Des King. We'll hear Nick Caserio's thoughts on that in a sec. Appreciate everyone for coming through. Be sure to subscribe, right along. It is a Locker Room, number one source for Texans daily digital content. Jay Deuce saying Arnold is the next AJ Boye. I don't know about that. That would be fantastic because AJ was a hell of a player. Remember when the debate in 2016-17, that offseason was, should they pay AJ Boye? Probably should have. Now, I know that, he started out strong in Jacksonville and he kind of fell off, but Probably should have, but if you can find another AJ Boye, then that would be really, really, really nice for that to happen. And we will see Tank Dell returning punts. So we will see how how that goes. Is Tank Dell 100% from the injury? I think so. I think I don't, I don't know if they know more than I do, but I think Tank Dell showed them enough in practice in that first preseason game to where there was really no urgency to put Tank Dell out there. I think they feel comfortable enough in what they've put on tape with Tank Dell. I would anticipate, again, I'm not in Baltimore's meeting rooms or anything like that, but I would anticipate it's kind of an awkward film study, much like the Texans and D'Amico Ryans, their film study of Baltimore's offense. But I would assume that it's probably a decent amount of looking at Tank Dell and what he put out there in that first preseason game, where he had the touchdown and all of the catches. So I would anticipate that they probably got some pretty decent plans for Tank Dell. I think he's going to be fine. The guys that you should probably feel the worst about right now, or maybe the most concerned about, I would say Cashman, Harris. I think Jimmy Ward's fine, good to go. And then Titus, but you never know. It's football. But today was one of those days. Today was the off day where they're, getting their body right, watching tape and stuff like that. So we will see how they respond, and we should see them on the practice field on Wednesday. Sometimes Wednesday's a veteran day off. I could see Monday of being the veteran day off this week with Jimmy Ward. But we'll see how that goes. Retreat hell, however the heck you say, I guess it's retreat hell, retreat. I don't know. 1, 2, 3, whatever. Could you imagine if we still had Justin Reed for what? I like Justin, friend of the show. Great dude, positive dude, good vibes. But what would he be doing? You'd like him better than Jimmy Ward at this point? I think Jimmy Ward might be better than Justin Reed at this point, and I think Jalen Petrie has more upside. So I don't know, could I imagine if they still had Justin Reed? I guess. I'm glad that he got his glory last year, but safety's not a position. I'll put it this way. And I think the secondary in general, safety's not really a position where I look at and wonder, damn, they could really use this guy. I feel really good about the safeties. I feel good about the corners. So yeah, I don't think that I don't like Justin Reed's not really the guy that I think about. Damn, I wish they really had him. It's just me though. Let's hear from Nick Caserio. Nick Caserio. Kevin says Justin Reed could be our punter. He does like to kick, doesn't he? Let's hear from Nick Caserio. Nick Caserio was on Sports Radio 610 today. He was actually asked about the Desmond King situation. Let's start with that. This was Nick Caserio explaining why the team decided to, surprisingly, let's be honest, it was pretty surprising, why the team decided to cut Desmond King. Here was Nick Caserio on Sports Radio 610 earlier this morning.
Des been a good football player for a number of years, been in the league, whether it was in San Diego, Tennessee. Our job is just to kind of look at everything in totality and then ultimately just try to make decisions that, we think are best for the football team. There was a good chance that he was going to end up, on another team, which most players do. So in Pittsburgh signed him. So you'll see him week 4 or 5, whatever that is. So Des did a lot of good things for our program, like a number of players. Sometimes you can't keep everybody, and ultimately we just got to look at our situation and say, you know what, this is where we are. This is what we think makes the most sense. So it's never one particular factor, Sean. It's a number of things. A lot of respect for Desmond. what he did for the football team over the last few years. Those are situations that are difficult, not one rhyme or reason. You just look at the information, try to make an assessment, and make a decision. Certainly wish Des well. He'll help Pittsburgh in his role, certainly, I would say, during the course of the season.
Yeah, and I think Desmond King did a really good job with this squad. I think Desmond King last year really stepped up. Sometimes it just doesn't fit. Sometimes, coaches look at things and they say, all right, there's maybe Desmond King's a little bit better player than Grayland Arnold right now, but they look at it and say, okay, but by week 8, could Grayland Arnold or, someone else fit better into our scheme? Doesn't mean that Desmond King's a bad player. I think it's symbolic of a couple of things. First of all, they have safeties that they think have durability and versatility. Second of all, they have better corners than they did last year. They've added more depth at the position. So that's kind of just what happens. And Des King moves on, and the Texans move on as well. And the Texans, I don't think they're going to be struggling for a nickel guy. Quite frankly, I don't know that Des King was really like a full-time nickel guy anymore. I keep hearing the talk about, Des King, he might have been the best nickel guy and stuff. And you could be right. I'm not questioning that. I just don't know if at this point Des King is just a nickel guy. And they have some guys that are probably a little bit better on the outside. But it'll be interesting to see how Pittsburgh does use Desmond. I like Desmond. He's a fellow French Bulldog owner. I got nothing but love for that. So is Mechie, though. So that's a little bit of a club going on there. And you know how us French Bulldog owners can be. We can be a little bit biased towards the dogs. So Des, I've always liked Des ever since I found out he was a Frenchie owner. Kenyon Green, been one of the big stories the last week and a half. Been kind of a polarizing-ish figure the last year plus. He's going to get his mind right, his body right, all of that. And this time next year, we're going to either be talking about a guy who's on the team or a guy who is done and looked at as one of the worst picks that Nick Caserio has made, and a complete failed first pick of the Deshaun Watson trade. Earlier last week, D'Amico Ryan said he was proud of what went on with Kenyon Green. Nick Caserio said it was inevitable that this was going to happen. He was asked for some clarification on Payne and Pendergast by Seth Payne this morning. We'll hear what Caserio had to say. First, though, Terry says, my hell would be having to listen to Caserio talk nonstop. Come on, man. I like Caserio. There is kind of there's probably a little bit of a shelf life. I don't know if I need to hear him talk for, close to an hour. But yeah, there is a little bit of a shelf life, but damn, hell, my hell is listening to Jack Easterby and Bill O'Brien talk. You can at least say like a timeout. You can at least say prison or something like that, like a jail sentence or something like that. But hell, we've seen hell. Let's hear Nick Caserio explaining the Kenyon Green situation. Hell, come on, man.
It's kind of a tricky situation. Any player, whatever their injury status may or may not be, you want to look at a couple things. A, are you giving the player a fair opportunity? B, are you putting him at risk? Went through the spring, kind of had an idea going into training camp. All right, probably going to be able to participate and be able to go out there and play football. And I think there were plenty of examples of that. There were a number of good plays. And then there were some things that I would say that he had to deal with specifically. And then as we got to the end there a little bit, I would say, the final play there, I would say more than anything, probably aggravated it. I wouldn't say it necessarily made it significantly worse. But so we just have to look at everything in totality, take all the information, and then ultimately make a decision. What's best for the player? What do we think is best for the team? Which is why we made the decision that we did. But if it gets to a point where the player's in a position where he actually can't go out there and do his job at a good enough level without putting himself at risk, then we have to internally say, you know what, in the end, let's think about the individual, not just run a player out there because we quote unquote need the player to play. It's not fair to the player. It's not fair to the team. It's not fair to anybody involved.
Yeah. I agree with that. I do. it just does seem weird where, and I try to avoid the either or thing because I think there's an element of with the way that Kenyon Green's being discussed now. There's an element of covering your own ass and protecting the player. So I don't think it's like either or. I think Kenyon Green was put in position to succeed. He failed. I think the Texans kind of decided that this was the right way to go. I don't think it's like one thing where, you know, you say, well, Kenyon Green, the Texans screwed up. They might have screwed up picking him, but I think there's a little bit of a balance there. And I like hearing Caserio talk about that, man. Some of y'all just don't like Nick Caserio. Caserio would get fired managing a T-ball team. T-ball's kind of hard, though. You got to admit, like, T-ball's kind of chaotic. I might get fired managing a T-ball. Now, coach pitch, I could handle. But T-ball, there's no method to it. Some of these parents are taking it too serious. T-ball seems kind of hard. He's supposed to keep the game plan near the vest. No pun. Intended. Yeah, but I do think there's a balancing of that. I do wonder about the interior offensive line scouting and evaluation. I do kind of agree with Chris on that. H-Town Finest says SpongeBob over Caserio. Calvin says he overthinks things. I agree with that. Wanted to hire Gannon. I don't know if that's true or not, but would it surprise you? Would it really surprise you? By the way, Jonathan Gannon, man, if they had hired him, I do wonder what the vibe would be right now. I really do wonder what the vibe would be big time. Flame, I won't even try to read all that. If you as a GM know that Green is hurting and a major possibility to not be ready, then why not bring in more linemen to try out and have backup option to start at guard instead of trying to make something happen now? I mean, they did draft Patterson. They did draft Juice Scruggs. Juice Scruggs was getting reps at left guard. They have made trades. They did bring in Dieter. I get when people say this, but I mean, what were they supposed to do? Were they supposed to draft another guard like early in the draft? Give me the name of a guard that was available that just would have been awesome. Now, some people would say Dalton Reisner. I don't know what the F is up with Dalton Reisner. I don't know what his deal is. Nobody seems to want him. I'll be the first one to criticize Nick Caserio. Y'all know that when he says something stupid, I'll say that Nick Caserio did or said something stupid. But I've heard this theory, and I don't think it's really fair in this instance to act like they weren't set up or they weren't equipped to handle it. Now it was weird that the guy is running with the ones up till the final preseason game. That was weird, but I don't, I mean, if Juice Scruggs doesn't get hurt, if Questenberry doesn't get hurt, we're probably looking at this a little bit different, and maybe Juice is playing guard, et cetera. I know that these aren't like elite players that you're replacing, but I'll give them a little bit of a break on that. I don't necessarily think that was something too crazy about that. Someone said H-Town Finest, Noah Brown and Robert Woods, Caserio signings. I don't have any problem with those two guys. You don't like them? I think those are good, serviceable type of receivers. Not high ceiling guys, I'll give you that. But I actually like the Woods signing. So I don't really have much issue with that. Maybe I'm just defending Nick Caserio because y'all are being so effing mean to him. I'm not going to say I'm not entertained by it, though. So keep it coming. Kendrick Green, guy that Caserio traded for. I actually came up with a theory, and I think this is a good one. I'll come up with a good theory every once in a while. Sometimes I'll come up with a theory, and you'll probably say, "Man, this jackass, the hell is he saying?" I'll probably say that too if I hear the tape or once I walk away from it. But there's clear hate for Kendrick Green in Pittsburgh, and he started at center his first year, and then he was a guard, didn't play at all. And I kid you not, when they traded him, their whole radio station in Pittsburgh, the whole station was just crapping on Kendrick Green and talking about how crappy he was and all that type of stuff, which kind of seems weird, right? For a guy that wasn't really expected to make the team, etc. I think I have a theory on why they hate Kendrick Green so much. On top of maybe he just kind of disappointed them. Kendrick Green did something that I thought was pretty stupid. And I forgot that it was him, but I remember it at the time that it was kind of brought up. And I don't want to say it was disrespect. And I think he actually reached out and put it in like an awkward position. But he did do this. And Major Payne says Pittsburgh hates every player that leaves. I think a lot of fan bases, I don't want to generalize it. But Twisted Mind says he just needed new scenery. I think Nick Caserio is going to agree with you. But here's my theory on Kendrick Green. He picked jersey number 53 when he joined the Steelers, which was the number that Pouncey wore for damn near a decade. A member of the all-decade team, a guy, I don't know how many times Pouncey was an all-pro, but Pouncey wore 53 and held it down there for a long time in Pittsburgh, and he wore jersey number 53. Ended up calling it quits. The year before, he was a 5-time All-Pro, 9-time Pro Bowler, NFL 2010s All-Decade team, 2010 to 2020, just one of the best centers in the league. And he leaves, and Kendrick Green decides, you know what, I'm going to wear number 53. I would hate your ass too if Pouncey were the center for that long and you decided that you were going to convert to center and wear Pouncey's number. I would hate your ass too, especially if you sucked and you weren't good. And we can sit here and talk about why and all that. As someone who relates to the fans, I'm not one of these like holier than thou media types. I would hate your ass too if you took Pouncey's number and then sucked. I wouldn't even be able. Quite frankly, regardless of how confident you feel in yourself and how long you've rocked a jersey, if you go to Pittsburgh and you take number 53 and you rock it at center, yeah, come on, dude. I'm not doing that. I also think, to bring this full circle, and I promise we'll hear Caserio on Kendrick Green, I also think that Kenyon Green needs to switch his jersey number. And part of it is the D'Amico thing, but the other thing is I just think he needs a change of scenery. Even if it's something as small as looking down at your chest and seeing a different jersey number, I think there's a chance that Jerry Hughes isn't a Texan next year, and he's wearing 55. Kenyon Green wore that 55 at A&M, where he was one of the best linemen in the country. Change to 55, boom. Even if it's not 55, change your number. But I think there's a little bit of venom in Pittsburgh when one of the best offensive linemen in the history of one of the best franchises in NFL history, when he leaves and then you take 53, yeah, I would be kind of pissed off at you, to be honest, especially if you sucked. That's just kind of my theory. Let's hear Nick Caserio talking about Kendrick Green. Someone said change of scenery. Here is Nick Caserio talking about Kendrick Green and what went into that trade.
I know I'm not going to get invited on a Roethlisberger's podcast anytime soon, but I mean, if he went out there, play a lot of football, probably some good plays and some bad plays like most rookies have. And sometimes the reality is, I mean, a player just needs to change the scenery. You know, it doesn't work out in one place, and we can go through, I would say, every roster in the NFL, look at a player. Maybe he was somewhere else, then you end up on your team, and maybe it works out a little bit better than others. Kendrick has experience. I think we were looking at him as more of a depth player. It wasn't, well, we're going to bring this player onto the team and just thrust him out there, and he's going to be starting X. I don't think that's fair or realistic. I think it's a young player that has, you know, is under contract for a few more years, has some experience playing multiple spots, a player that there were some traits and characteristics that we like coming out of the draft process. So it's just an opportunity for a player to kind of restart.
So change of scenery, etc. We'll see what happens. Right now, he's listed second on the depth chart, and we'll see how Kendrick Green does end up. But Nick Caserio seems to, I don't want to call it smug, but he seems to sound relatively confident that he believes in Green. So okay, we'll see. I mean, does Caserio know how to evaluate interior offensive linemen? That's really to be determined. There's evidence against it at this point, but we'll see what happens. I thought Nick was good today. I could have said goodbye to him after 20 minutes, but yeah, I thought Nick was good today on the questions. But yeah, I agree. I actually thought Nick was good, although some of y'all are some meanies today. Madman Madsen, goodness gracious, my friend, look at that outfit. There you go. He needs to switch to 55 next year. Talking about Kenyon Green, I agree. Wouldn't you feel dumb seeing all the 59 jerseys in the stands and they're all your coach's jersey? That would make me uncomfortable. 100%. I 100% can understand that. That makes sense. That's kind of my philosophy as well. Just change the number no matter what. That's Caserio's problem. He thinks he knows something about players that others don't, which causes him to make questionable decisions, and it usually backfires on him. I think you're kind of insinuating that you think Caserio is stubborn. I don't know. He's really stubborn. I actually think he's a pretty open-minded guy, and it's pretty somewhat open to change, adapting, all that type of stuff. So I don't think that Nick Caserio is really stubborn or anything like that. Now, some people think he should have gotten the boot after Lovie Smith. That's neither here nor there. So we'll see what happens there. Let's hear from D'Amico Ryans. God, D'Amico Ryans absolutely freaking loves Will Anderson. We'll get into the comments of that Texans Twitter going nuts as well. Subscribe, like, right along. It is Locker Room, number one source for Texans digital content. I thought D'Amico was asked a really good question. And this is something we'll get into on the back end about Will Anderson. I think Will Anderson is going to have a massive season. D'Amico was asked, is the fact that Will Anderson is coming in with CJ Stroud, is that kind of minimizing the pressure on Will Anderson? Like, we don't talk about Will Anderson. I said this in a video a while ago. Like, we've stopped talking about him. He's just so good in practice. I don't know if you take it for granted. I don't know if there's just attention on CJ Stroud. I just don't know if we just need to see real games. But he's kind of been under the radar for a guy who was selected number 3 in the draft. And he's been the perfect prospect. He's been incredible. And you hear D'Amico Ryans talk about him. And I think it's Chancellor Johnson. I'm not sure. Shout out to my boy Chancellor Johnson, KPRC too. I'll listen again and try to hear who it is so I can give him credit for the question. But let's listen to D'Amico Ryans' love up on Will Anderson.
D'Amico, where do you feel like Will Anderson is? And, given the fact that he was a second pick, do you feel like maybe the fact that CJ, there's a lot of attention on CJ, is kind of taking some of maybe perhaps pressure off Will at all?
When it comes to, you talk about the young guys and the pressure, like I don't see it as pressure on these guys, right? They're not getting pressure from me, and so there is no pressure on these guys. These guys just have to go out and play great football, just do their job, right? They're one part of a defense, one part of the offense. So for them, don't worry about any pressure. It's just go out and play football, do what you've been doing all your life, having fun doing. There is no pressure on Will or CJ to perform. It's a team game, right? And those guys aren't going out there by themselves.
Thank you. What do you feel like where he is, Will is?
Will is in a great spot. I think Will has been consistent all throughout training camp, throughout the preseason. He's been one of our most consistent players, all right, one of our most physical players, dominant on the edge. So Will has done everything that we've asked him to do, and couldn't be happier with where Will is right now.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys.
All right, there you go. God, he loves him some Will Anderson, and he should, rightfully so. He should. I think Will Anderson's going to be incredible for sure. I think he's going to be absolutely excellent. More comments in the comments. Keep them going. We'll get to what had the Texans internet going nuts. Ruben in the building. Y'all Nick haters, go get into his shoes and take the aftermath and mess that O'Brien and Jackie left. Just keep your lips closed. Go Texans. I don't think anyone denies that it was a hard situation for Nick Caserio. But I do think that I think it's fair to be critical of Nick Caserio. Now, there's some people who want him fired. I think that might be a little dramatic. But I don't think anyone in their right mind could say he's done an awesome job. I mean, he definitely could have done a lot better. He's in the situation now where moving forward, we'll really be able to assess him. But yeah, I don't think that I don't know about them being trolls. Thurman Pack says that Nick haters are just trolls. I don't know about that. I think they just have reason to dislike Caserio. So we'll see how that goes down. Thurman Pack is a very passionate Caserio defender. I guess I could say. So we will see what goes down with Nick Caserio later on. I don't think it's like really that like polarizing of a thing. Some people just dislike him. So the internet was going nuts today. Texans Twitter for something Colin Cowherd said about CJ Stroud. I went back and listened to it. And I mean, basically what he was saying was there's a lot of quarterback talent. Just to summarize, there's a lot of quarterback talent in college football. And some of these teams that don't have elite quarterbacks might want to, if they have the opportunity, they might want to draft a young quarterback and maybe punt on the quarterback they currently have. And he mentioned CJ Stroud getting a second year. And some of Texans Twitter just went a little bit nuts on it. Look, I think at minimum, CJ Stroud's going to get 2 years. And again, I'm saying at minimum, much like Trey Lance and much like Zach Wilson, who were top 3 picks, at minimum, he's getting 2 years. Like, I don't see the Texans, even in the worst of all scenarios, doing to CJ Stroud what the Cardinals did to Josh Rosen, where you just punt on him after a year and you draft another quarterback when you have the opportunity. I don't really see that happening. I mean, I think that's the point he was trying to make. I read, not going to lie, I was on the air and I was seeing kind of some of the reaction, and you would have thought that he spent like 10 minutes just crapping on CJ Stroud, which he has with the Dak Prescott stuff. But I think that's just basically what he's saying. Look, if Cleveland's the worst team in the league, let's say Cleveland's the worst team in the league, and the number 1 pick is the Texans because they have Cleveland's pick. If CJ Stroud is okay, do you take Caleb Williams and trade Stroud? Do you trade the pick and stockpile draft picks? Because, God, you're going to get a few ones for that one with Caleb Williams. Even if you have the number 2 pick, like let's say you're sitting there and Drake May is available. Do you trade that and stockpile picks? It would be interesting to see how the situation is handled because these are situations that we've kind of seen. But I think CJ Stroud gets 2 years to begin with. And I don't really let like Colin Cowherd comments really get me like that, up in arms with what he says. I'm always kind of amused. Like, we'll probably play it on the show and talk about it, but I'm always amused by people who say, this guy is just saying this to generate reaction, but then you give him reaction. You know what I'm saying? Like the other day, like if someone says to you, man, you're just saying that to say it, but then they give you 5 paragraphs conflicting the point, then isn't that person like essentially the dumbest person in the world? Right? Like if you don't think someone's giving you a sincere opinion, but then you take time out of your day and put, 50 quote tweets and all this analysis on, why the opinion is wrong, then who's the idiot? I mean, that's the thing I don't get. I think whether he's, regardless of like what the motive is, I do think there's a discussion to be had. And there's already people kind of, partaking in the discussion. Like if Cleveland's the worst team in the league and CJ Stroud has a good rookie season, what do you do? How do you handle that? If Cleveland's the second worst team in the league, and let's say Drake May continues to look great and you get that pick, what do you do? A lot of people saying you trade the pick. Some people saying that you take Caleb. So I think that's the right way to attack the conversation instead of, oh, this guy sucks. Look at what he said the other day, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? So, yeah, I mean, I think it's a good discussion. I think it's a fair discussion. Matter of fact, I think it's a radio topic. I'm gonna put that on the run sheet right now. I think that's fair. So yeah, Jerome, back to the Nick stuff. Scared to stockpile picks with Nick. I mean, you have done that, and you've got you got Will Anderson, C.J. Stroud, and some stuff to go on. But yeah, I don't dispute that. Colin can be annoying, but just think about what people are saying. Oh, he's a blowhard who's just trying to generate talks. And then I see guys that aren't good radio hosts, aren't good writers, talking crap about him and acting like it's like lazy and all this stuff. It's like, brother, you let's tap the brakes a little bit there when it comes to that type of stuff. But yeah, I mean, are the Texans going to punt on him? CJ, no. But in that scenario, I think it's interesting. Kevin says he would stay with CJ. And I think that would be a popular thing. So, we would see what happened. Is Colin going to criticize the Broncos? I very seriously doubt it. I think he kind of showed that he was a big Sean Payton guy. Hold on. I'm going to put this on the run sheet right now. The Cowherd thing on here, because I think it's a good topic. So I'm actually going to put this on here on the go. I know this is awesome to see. I'll get to the comments. If Browns pick one or scenarios. Discuss that. Also, definitely going to discuss that Jose Altuve murder. Good God. That was crazy. Yeah, definitely trade back and take a wide receiver. I think a lot of people would say that. I think it would depend on how CJ looked and the why CJ looked that way. So stockpile picks. There you go. But we have seen, the thing about it, and we've talked about it. And this is a good thing about drafting a quarterback high now is you don't set your franchise back if it doesn't work out. If it's Trey Lance and Zach Wilson, now I'm bringing up a sensitive topic, my man Curtis probably rolling his eyes right now, along with Prime, not Coach Prime, but Prime Time. If your GM is drafting well, like if Joe Douglas and the Jets, if they're building a squad and you're drafting Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, getting all this young talent, and then you miss on a quarterback, you can be okay. Now, if you're drafting Kenyon Green, and you're not building the roster, and you haven't really put together some core pieces, then yeah, the quarterback thing becomes a little bit of an interesting thing. So we'll see what happens. Let's get to some of the comments before we get out of here and get ready. By the way, CJ Stroud speaking tomorrow. Download that Odyssey app, In the Loop, Sports Radio 610. Right along. Blue Ash says Nick is generally drafted well. So screw all you Nick Caserio haters. Nick is drafted well according to Blue Ash. BLUU_Ash. Y'all can have some fun in the comment section there. Just be respectful. generally drafted well. I mean, Nick called the draft kind of a coin toss. I don't think it's been like the end all be all, but generally drafted well. Okay. I mean, go back and forth on that. Joseph asks, after seeing your previous live where you went over a trade for Evans instead of investing a second round pick, what would you think about trading Tank Dell for Evans? I think that would be a very big mistake. And I strongly recommend, I'll actually put this link in the comments because I thought it was so good. Texans Cap, friend of the show, Texans Cap actually put about as in-depth of a breakdown of a Mike Evans trade as you'll ever find. He went into the chart, the production chart. He went into the salary cap. It's right there in the comments. By the way, while you're down there, be sure to subscribe, like, right along. It is the Locker Room, number one source for Texans daily digital content. When y'all leave here, just be sure to like. It'd be great. But yeah, I would recommend reading that, and it kind of give you some clarity on the Mike Evans thing. Like, could it possibly happen? Sure, but you look at what would have to happen financially, as well as since 2011, I think 21 receivers have had 1,000 yards past age 30, and I think that number goes down at 31 and 32. So there is that. So just check it out. It doesn't make sense. That's the overall opinion there. Would adding Mike Evans make him a 9-10 win team? If we're just putting all the finances aside, I don't know. I mean, look, man, like there's all kinds of scenarios where teams, and I actually have it on my show doc here. I'll do this. I'll actually do this video before the season with the teams that, have gone from, 4 wins, 3 wins, 5 wins to the playoffs since 2013. And we can go over that. Someone is going to do that this year. Will it be the Texans? Don't know. Would Mike Evans do that? No. Yes, they're not adding Mike Evans. That is a fact. Yes, I agree. It's not worth it. So there you go. That is where that is. I'm not doing any more of these EA Sports stuff, guys. I'm not doing this EA Sports stuff, okay? This ain't Madden. Not doing this. Now we're trading Xavier Hutchinson for Mike Evans. What the hell are we doing? What is going on right now? This is absolute madness. Logan asks, is Titus a go for Sunday, or is he still up in the air? He's still up in the air. I think it's trending towards him playing, I would think. But you never know with these types of things. I mean, the dude was working out full speed days after he got hurt, like on the practice field. So I would say it's trending that way. I don't know why people think they're trading for Evans. Maybe it's wishful thinking. Would I be shocked if the Texans steal this game versus the Ravens? I bet McClain a Benji today, $100. I think they covered the 10. Look, man, if you look at last season and you look at some of the stuff that happened week 1, there's some fluky stuff. Tampa Bay beat the crap out of the Dallas Cowboys. The Bears beat the 49ers. I know Trey Lance was at quarterback, but fluky stuff happens in week 1. Quarterbacks who didn't play in the preseason were 3-8. There's upsets in week 1. So maybe that is good news for the Texans. Who knows? But I bet McClain. I'm 2-0 in $100 bets against McClain, trying to go 3-0. So I bet McClain a hundo on that. Random Nothingness says, when you called Amy Adams a dog, I almost crashed my car. Yeah, Cal McNair and Hannah McNair actually pulled up on us at the studio. Birdman Breakfast Club style. No, it wasn't quite like that. But they were down the hall at our sister station, 100.3 The Bull. They were doing some recordings, came in to congratulate me on the baby. Hopped on for about 10 minutes if you want to check that out on the Odyssey app. Hannah and I basically roasted McClain. They just talked about, their expectations. These old folks, I don't know what it is, but these like OGs that have met everyone, they get really excited when they see billionaires, man. It's really kind of strange. Like, I like Cal and Hannah. I just look at them as normal folks. Like, they get giddy, man. Like, they go down the hall and stuff. Like, McLean was like waiting before he was going to come in. Hey, I'm going to try to get Cal and Hannah on here. I was like, man, they've been making the rounds, man. Just let them do their thing. And Lopez goes in there. Hey, but yeah, I said Amy Adams was, what I say, she was a beagle or something. Having Tank on the field opens up opportunities for other receivers since he'll draw most of the attention. He shouldn't be used as just a situational piece. What do you mean? You mean like not? You think he should be on the field more often? Yeah, I don't think they look at him as like a gadget player at all. David says, "Do you start Tank Dell week 1 in fantasy football?" I drafted him and I kind of stocked him away. I don't have the nuts to do it, although I do think he's going to be a decent part of the offense. I would hope. I don't want to know who's on your effing fantasy team, so don't be sending me your effing fantasy team. I don't care. But although I might talk about mine, just kidding. But do you start Tank Dell week 1 in fantasy football? Probably not. But I would have him on my team just in case he looks like he did in that preseason. How you feel about Kelsey panic mode in week 1? Nah, he'll be fine. Talking about the fantasy thing that I said I didn't want everyone else to do. Will the Texans be playing with fire in their guts? I don't know. The hell is that? If Titus suits up Sunday, that means they truly believe we can steal this game. Yeah, I think they believe they can steal the game no matter what. Where the hell is Will Fuller? I don't know. Will Fuller was so damn cold when he was right, especially with Deshaun for that little stretch, 17-19. He was so damn cold. Him and Hopkins were the perfect duo. Then he couldn't stay healthy. Got popped with the Peds. I don't know what in the hell is up with Will Fuller. Actually, a damn shame. I think he's gone next year. Talking about Nick Caserio. I don't think him. Oh, you're talking about Kenyon Green. I don't think he is gone. I think he is gone next year. I don't think he will make the team next offseason. What about you? I think he makes the team. I think Kenyon Green makes the team next year. I mean, this has got to be. He's going to come in. He's got to come in with like a complete body transformation, right? In a clear mind. I think he'll make the team. Hope he makes the team. Howard is slightly above average. Boy, there's Titus Howard following, man. You're gonna get jumped on for that one. When it comes to folks talking about Titus Howard, a lot of people carry that water. I will say that with Titus Howard, he's nice to a lot of guys. Did you bet on the Texans to beat the Ravens by 10? I bet on the Texans to be within 10 points. No, if I bet on them to win by 10, I would have to be getting some really effing good odds. That's not only a money line. That's what I would call a reverse assing. So no, I did not bet on the Texans to win by 10. That would be dumb. I bet on them to be within 10. Is the best beer the third one? I had three tonight. I went to Lock Bar Happy Hour. By the way, it's the best happy hour in town. If you like oysters and if you like hush puppies, I don't like artichokes. Wifey likes artichokes. I don't get it, whatever. But it's a really good happy hour. I think 150 oysters, like elite oysters. I don't know if the best beer's got to be it's got to be like the middle of the first or the second. Or actually, like the real best beer is probably the 6th, right? The 6th. I'm actually going old school and I'm getting a keg this Saturday. Texas versus Alabama. I'm going to have people from the station over to check that out. I don't know if everyone's going to be about this life. Sometimes the dark beer kegs kind of scare people, but I'm getting the Hopadillo keg. And I'm still going to get other stuff, but I think the best beer is probably like the 5th. But the third I could see, maybe second. I don't know. It's a good question. That actually is a really good question that probably a lot of people say, what are you crackheads talking about? I think it requires a lot of good thought. And some of my folks on here might not even drink beer. They might say it's the second Long Island or something like that. Who knows? CJ Stroud versus Georgia is more impressive than anything Caleb has done. It was an impressive game. And USC lost their bowl game last year. So yeah. Who knows? That's an interesting. Little J, the best beer is when you're working outside on a hot day, you crack open a cold one. Like yard work, you think? I think tailgating beer is the best, honestly. And we will be tailgating again this year. If you're out there, let me know. If you want to know where to go, ask me. I got you covered. As far as where to tailgate, I got you covered. Just cash app them a little bit. People have been showing up and not cash app. They don't care. But enough said tailgate. They actually got a St. Arnold's kind of sponsorship. So you go there. It's the best spot. They got the shot ski. They got fire truck, all that. Enough said. Just cash app Freddie like $20, something like that. But I think tailgate beer is probably actually the best. He's talking about the hazy Hoppo. Yeah, hazy Hoppo goes in. Not a big I'm a big double IPA at times, but not. But second beer is the best. Okay. There we go. Golf beers, man. I don't like playing golf, man. I quit that damn game. I gave away my clubs and everything. They were extended. Appreciate everyone for coming through to reset what we talked about. The depth chart is out. Biggest things that stick out, Patterson at center, and we have Jones at guard, and then we have Hansen at linebacker with Cashman backing him up. Tomorrow's practice will tell us a lot. We'll react to that. Mignana, CJ Stroud going to speak at 1:15 Central on In the Loop Sports Radio 610. So download the Odyssey app, check that out. D'Amico going to speak as well. Nick Caserio, he addressed the Kenyon Green situation. He addressed the Kendrick Green situation. He also addressed the Desmond King situation as well. D'Amico loves Will Anderson. I thought it was a good theory that maybe Will Anderson is kind of benefiting from having CJ Stroud here, being able to kind of go under the radar. And Colin Cowherd got a lot of people ticked off. A lot of people who said that he was a lot of people that said that he was just saying stuff to say it. They put in all that effort to give credence to something that was said that they said that he didn't mean. How stupid do you really have to be, though? Like, even y'all got to admit, like, it's cool to like get mad about stuff. Like, if you just like, I don't frown upon like any reaction, but if you just say what Colin Cowherd said was stupid and you go into it, that's fine. But oh, he's just saying it to say it. But then you write 6 paragraphs about why he's wrong. Then what are you doing? Like, what? Why would you do that? I'm serious. I waste a lot of time doing some stupid stuff, really stupid stuff. Like I watch the stupidest TV shows you can possibly watch. And I like them more than my wife. I like stupid ass reality shows. Okay. And I know they're not real. I know that they're a little bit rehearsed. I know they can be a little bit staged. But if I sat here and I said, man, I can't believe that Real Housewives has fake storylines sometimes. This is the stupidest thing in the world, blah, blah, blah. But then I turned on Bravo and watched it. I'm a dumbass. And yes, it is an L. It is an L to watch these shows. I admit that. But if I said that and then I turned them on, you would have every right to call me a dumbass. If you think he said something dumb, you think he said something dumb. But if you're going to go on some sort of tangent, well, he's just saying it because of ratings. Trust me, like if he wanted to get ratings, he would say something about Dak Prescott, Aaron Rodgers, etc. I love the Texans. I love talking about the Texans, but he ain't talking about the Texans for ratings. Maybe he's just kind of thinking. Maybe he is a joke, not disagreeing. But man, how weird do you have to be to say this guy sucks? And then I saw someone, I forgot who it was. I don't want to like broadly call him out. You're digging up clips from what he said in the past and then saying he's just trolling. How much effort did you put into someone who's just trolling? What are we doing here? Jersey Shore or nothing. Jersey Shore is one of the greatest reality shows of all time. I watch it. Absolutely. Appreciate everyone for coming through. It's game week. I'm fired up. CJ Stroud, 115. What are we at? 15 hours away. D'Amico Ryans right before that. In the Loop, Odyssey app, Sports Radio 610. Let's eat, man. It's game week. This is fun times. What beer is the best beer? Leave that in the comments. Appreciate y'all for coming through. All love. Appreciate the discussion. So happy that we've been doing this for a year. I think on Friday or Saturday. Been consistent the whole time. No days off, baby. I'm here. You're here. We're all in this together. Have a wonderful night.
We got taste for days. Opinions to give. We got takeaways. If it's up, then it's up. We number one. You don't need to try your luck. Locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize. Every angle's what we really do. We the source. We the pulse of the city, too.